Any last words, last advices?
Do it now. Apply for the masters now. And I'm not saying it because of motivational speech. For example, the scholarship I studied under, a country can only be there for 5 years.
Your scholarship, is it fully funded or partially funded?
So OKP is fully funded.
Like OKP generally
Yeah,
is.
it's fully funded.
If I remember where it covers your admission, even your house rent.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Studies in the Netherlands. I've recorded 2 episodes so far, talking about Masters and PhD in Netherlands, and here I have with me Chinyere, who also did her Masters here in Netherlands, also currently working in Netherlands. And Chinyere, we have a couple of questions for you. We look forward to seeing what you have to share with me and as well every other person who is watching. So first off, you can give a bit of introduction about yourself.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Dillian, for having me. The
pleasure is mine.
Thank you. My name is Chinyere Anichukwu. I am from Nigeria. I am 26 years of age. Graduated last year. October from my master's in the Netherlands, and I'm currently working as an event coordinator here in Amsterdam. Is there any other thing to add?
Don't worry, we have questions. You will add.
Okay, so that's just the basic introduction I think I can think of right now about myself.
Yeah, I think it's also nice that, from masters you're currently working, so hopefully we'll be able to touch a bit on how that transition was for you. Let's kick off with the questions. We're gonna go easy on you, don't worry.
Okay, please go easy.
The first question, which is what I usually ask people, is that why did you choose the Netherlands? You did your bachelor's in Nigeria, right? Now, why did you choose Netherlands amongst other places for your masters?
The way I remembered it, I had just finished my NYSC, served in Calabar, and then I was already working in Enugu. During that time, it was 2019, there was this rave going on about people doing their masters with scholarship among my peers. So I was like, okay, I really always wanted to do my masters, of course, but I never thought of doing it abroad. So I was like, okay, let me join the bandwagon, the crowd, literally. So I just started playing online, like on the side. I have a friend that did his PhD in Enschede. It's a city in the Netherlands.
Okay,
and
not heard about that.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the Netherlands. So yeah, he came back as a lecturer. So I was like, okay, maybe I can try out the Netherlands. That was how it just popped up. I didn't want to do a 1-year master's. I wanted a 2-year master's. So I started searching. Yeah,
I know people who look for 1-year master's.
No, I wanted a 2 years master's because I really wanted it to be like in depth. I'm very passionate about tourism, about the tourism industry. So I just streamlined all the courses I was looking for to tourism, and then I found 2 universities. I just went for the one that had a 2 years program. I studied in Wageningen University and research in Wageningen. That's where I eventually ended up in.
So
would you want to know maybe about the application process?
Don't.
Okay.
The question is here.
Okay.
So your choice for Netherlands was, it wasn't like you really had Netherlands in mind or all this. I was just really seeing people doing all of that, and then also the person who did their PhD and went back.
Yeah, I would confess it was mostly driven by my peers. I could have gone to any other place, to be honest, but...
And just a quick question. Have you regretted that decision?
No.
Would you have preferred a different country?
No. I would, if I were to do it again, I would choose the Netherlands again. So, yeah.
+1 for Netherlands. So moving on to the application process, I know people usually talk about coming here through scholarships, and I have a separate question for scholarships, so you don't need to dive deep yet. But how was the application process for you after searching for the schools? How did you go about it?
Yeah, I'm also going to say it as it is. I didn't stress for it. I also did not sweat for it.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice. Like when I see like people panicking, I'm always like, okay, maybe I had it easier because I had my friend who sort of coached me because he had his younger brother apply like the year before me. So he was like, he was just helping me like more like a coach because he's mostly applying for admission, applying, writing a statement, motivation statement, and statement of purpose, like the reason why you want to study the course you want to study in the university, finally getting the funding, which is a scholarship. It was pretty much smooth. I got the admission, and then it was now time to apply for the scholarship, because usually in my university, what they do is when they offer you the admission, then you will be nominated for a scholarship. And I got nominated for Orange Knowledge Program, OKP scholarship. There are other scholarships, of course, that are accessible to third world countries. I went for OKP because it seemed more easier to apply for, because it didn't have a lot of requirements. To be honest, I was looking for the easy way out. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody likes the easy way out.
Yeah.
I applied for the scholarship, and then something really interesting happened. I got rejected. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I got rejected. I just got it was a long wait. We started the application from January, and then the final decision about the scholarship came out in that was in June. I can't forget it, June 15th.
Whoa.
And they were like, "Oh, you have not been selected. You cannot protest. You cannot protest against it. So the journey ends here."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I really had high hopes. So, but in as much as I did not really stress that much, except from like the statement of purpose and motivation letters I had to write, I can't really say I spent money. I didn't pay any application fees. So I was like, I did not lose any like physical resources, but like I already had high hopes. So I was really broken down. And that was also like in the peak of COVID. But then a month later, I got another email exactly a month later. "Oh, congratulations. You've been offered again since someone dropped."
What?
That's me. Crazy. I know.
So you got a rejection?
Yeah.
And then someone dropped out?
Yeah.
And then
So
they selected you?
Yeah, so usually, I don't know if other scholarships also have this, but in OKP, they always have like a reserve list where they keep people that did not meet up the list. So they keep it like still according to who your performance. Yeah. So if anything happens to the people chosen, they can always fall back to the reserve list and start choosing from number 1 down. And it was really God's grace, to be honest, because I had forgotten about it at that point. I was already moving on with my life.
Yeah.
And then plot twist, I already registered for a master's in Nigeria, in a Nigerian university. Wow. I was like, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So if I get you correctly, first you looked for different schools in the Netherlands and you applied.
Yeah.
And then when the schools give you admission, does the school direct you to the scholarship, or you look for the scholarship on your own?
In my own case, when I got the admission, the school specifically sent me an email asking me if I wanted to study with funding, because some, even Nigerian students, some of them are studying in the Netherlands on self-funding. So they would always ask you, because I mean, some people can afford it, and some people cannot.
Yeah.
So when they asked me, I was like, yes, I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
And then they nominated me for the one that had, I think, maybe more vacancies.
Oh, yeah.
As at that time, we had like the one that they call ASP, African Scholars Program.
Yeah.
That one is more competitive. Like, the much I know, I think you must have a first class before you apply for it. I didn't have a first class, so that was why I just avoided it. And I had a second class uppers in my bachelor's, so I just went for OKP because they didn't have like grade. There's also the one they called ABF, Ane Van Den. I'm sorry if I'm murdering the name.
Don't worry, I'll put something on the screen.
Yeah,
later.
But that one also is also there. So there were at least 5 scholarships at that moment.
Interesting. I've heard of OKP a lot, and if you've watched the previous episodes, they have mentioned OKP. So after they nominated you, then you had the scholarship exams, or
no, I didn't have any scholarship exams. They nominated me, and then it was now time to write my main statement of purpose. So I don't know if they've changed the criteria right now.
Okay, yeah.
But it's usually like a 1,000 word essay where you focus on the what, why, and how. So
sorry, this is still 2020, right?
Yeah, in 2020. Yeah. You divide the essay into 3 or 4 parts, where you focus on why you chose the program you chose. So they really want to see you convince them that the reason why you want to study this program, right? Yeah. And also because OKP expects that you go back to your country. They've invested in you, kind of, and they expect that you should invest that knowledge back to your country or back to your workplace. So they will, at the end of the essay, you will explain how you're going to invest the knowledge when you get it after the master's back in your home country. So you really, I think that's where the selection process lies. That's like the focal point, because getting admission is easy. Yeah. But the funding is you really have, it's very competitive. So if it's possible, like I always tell people, if it's possible, get a coach. Try to, go through it, because once you submit it, that's like what determines your selection process. Yeah.
You know, it even makes me curious now because you must have written that you were going to apply all this knowledge back in Nigeria, but you are working currently in the Netherlands. So
yeah, life happens. Life happens, to be honest. Yeah, I know.
did life happen,
happens.
or you already knew life would happen?
I mean, like, I know, like, so many people have different journeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people already know maybe towards the end of their graduation year that they are going to stay back or that they are not going to stay back.
Yeah.
While some people also maybe have chosen from the day one, I'm not going back or I'm going back, or, you know, but indeed life happens because sometimes you can say I'm going back and then you get a good job here.
Well, I mean, you've already touched a lot on scholarship opportunities. We're supposed to come later, but we can just move on with a bit of a personal question of why. Is it because you like tourism? Is it because for some people, they want to get these extra certificates that can help them get jobs faster? But what was it for you that made you want to pursue masters after bachelor's?
I will start with my journey before my bachelor's. As you all know, like, you know the process with JAMB, like for Nigerians, you know the process with post-UTME, like, and then I always wanted to study law. So I applied for law, of course, but I didn't get a cut-off mark. So I settled for archaeology and tourism. At the beginning, I was so pissed. I was like, what is this? I've never heard the word archaeology. I know who is a tourist, but how do I study it?
Yeah.
When I studied in my first year, I was like, okay, I really like this. And then second year, I fell in love with the course. After I graduated, towards my final year, I focused more on the tourism aspect. So also my bachelor's thesis was on a cultural tourism aspect. So I was like, okay, I really need to do my master's in this course if I'm ever to do my master's, because at that moment I didn't know if I was going to do my master's or not.
Yeah.
And then, as God will have it, I got my master's in tourism, and then this time around it was more focused on sustainability. So my master's had a big focus on the environment and sustainable tourism, so which is an area of tourism that I really love. So
It's quite a journey you have, honestly.
I
From
know.
not liking your course to now even wanting to do masters in that course. Well, as we move on, you still get to share a bit about the masters, but one question I want to ask now is, what are the tuition fees like for masters? Or the first question is, your scholarship, is it fully funded or partially funded?
So OKP is fully funded.
Like OKP generally is
fully funded.
If I remember where it covers your admission, even your house rent.
From your visa fees to your flight fees, your flight tickets, to your tuition fee, and also like an allowance for books. It's for your books.
Must you buy the books?
It's for your books. And I also think they call it laptop and books allowance. And then you get a monthly stipend. Right now, the stipend is like 1,100 euros.
That thing bust my mind the first time I had it. They are paying you to do masters that they already gave you scholarship for.
Oh my God.
I might eventually consider this masters.
Consider
the way things are going.
As a student in the Netherlands, you should be registered in a housing. Just make sure you're registered, like you can live anywhere. So they don't mandate you on what to use the money for. The money, they just call it if your living expenses and your stipend, monthly stipend. They just give it to you per month. Like every 25th of every month, you get it.
Wow. I have friends in
It's salary now. It's salary. It's salary.
They have paid you. Oh yeah, take me out. Coming back to my original question, what is the tuition fees like? I mean, it's probably different now compared to 3 years ago, but how was it then? What do you think it is like now?
20,000 euros per year. And my master's was for 2 years. So even as they're paying everything, though, you also see like a breakdown of what they're paying for. So, but for those that are self-funded, every university in the Netherlands gives you the liberty to pay in 6 different installments every year.
For the self-funded ones?
Yeah, for self-funded people. Like, you can always make that arrangement. Every university is flexible to do that. That's just tuition. Your living expense. If you're self-funded, your living expense is literally on your head.
Yeah, but what do you think is the average for most? Is it still somewhere around 20 or?
It really depends on universities, because I've seen other universities, but to be honest, I think Wageningen University is among one of the most expensive universities in the Netherlands. I've seen some that are like 10 to 12,000 per year, some 12 to 14,000 per year. So it really depends, and all those ones, they also allow you to pay in installments.
I think the best thing here is to check online and see what the current
I always say, don't just join bandwagon and
Like you did.
yeah, yeah, like in terms of like I did, like because sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot. I think I had that kind of flexibility because I'm not in the science area. I think people that are in the science area and programs, there are some universities that are really focused on science programs, like science courses. So you really have to like maybe put in a lot more effort in getting a university. For example, Wagner University is more specialized in agriculture and research. Somebody that is doing aeronautical engineering cannot come to Wageningen because I don't think there is a course in that field there. For example, this aeronautical engineering, I know the universities that are specialized in it is, for example, TU Delft University. You can look it up. Maastricht University in Maastricht. So there are some universities that are really, really focused and specialized on certain fields.
I think it still depends. You make your research, see what the fees are like. But I think that installment is actually great.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Paying that thing once. One more question before we go on a bit of a commercial break is, what is your master's about? Or what was, this is past tense now, what was your master's about? So you said tourism, you said sustainability, environment.
So my master's was mainly about tourism, society and environment. That's the word, that's the name. It was more like looking at the impact of tourism on the society and on the environment, just in a summary, because this day we are tilting towards how to make tourism more sustainable. So how to make the impact of tourism more sustainable in different destinations. We are at some point tourists. We go on trips, we go on vacation. We usually don't think about the impact of our actions in the destinations that we go to. My course was really looking at the impact of this kind of trips, right? Make it more sustainable by maybe taking the trains, staying in more sustainable accommodations that use low energy, how to make communities benefit more from tourism. Because, it's communities are the ones that suffer tourism the most, because some tourists come to a destination, litter the place, maybe trash talk the cultures of that destination. It makes such cultures diminish. And then for my thesis, because usually in my course was 2 years, so my first year was for my whole coursework, and then my second year was for my internship and for my thesis. My thesis was a bit more tilted towards migration and tourism. So I focused on the branch of tourism that deals on people visiting their friends and relatives from Africa to the Netherlands. So we did a lot of interview and
Well, let's go on a bit of a commercial break, get some popcorn and drink some wine.
Yeah, and stay tuned. Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying this series so far and you've learned a couple of things that can guide your decisions if you're interested in studying in the Netherlands. I'm looking to share even more stories here in the Netherlands, interviewing several people. And in fact, soon I'll be having an interview with someone who studied medicine here in the Netherlands. You definitely don't want to miss that episode. And if you haven't seen the previous episodes, definitely check it out. Also, kindly subscribe, like this episode, share this series with anyone who you think will benefit from it. And with that out of the way, let's continue with this current episode because there's even more to learn. Okay, so moving on, do you want to share a bit more about what your internship was like, how it works, what did the company or organization expect from you?
I would start with how the internship is really set up because internship is like a prerequisite for you to pass your course, your master's. It has its own credit load, so you really have to do it. I think where there was exceptions to allow people not to do internship was where they could prove that they have enough professional experience, because the essence of the internship is for you to get professional experience in the field practically and no longer theoretically. So the company was mostly specialized in organizing trips, individual and also family and group trips to different destinations. I think they go to, as at when I worked there, they went through all continents. If the trip has to be with flights, they have to meet some certain standards to make sure it is like low emission flights, because at the end of the year they have to like compute an impact factor to see the impact of all the flights that they had in the year on the environment. I was working with the local tourism experts in each of those destinations. My day-to-day work was like having meetings with all of them virtually, of course, because they were in different countries. Computing data. So mainly we were trying to see the positive and the negative impacts of tourism on the destinations that the company was taking tourists to. So we're trying to, it was more of like a quantitative data analysis because we wanted to see this impact in figures and no longer in words. At the end of my internship, we were able to produce a report, like a comprehensive report, which I was really proud of, that I worked on it, and then I saw the results before I left the internship. Sometimes it is the case that your internship company can say, okay, we really like you, or we really have a vacancy right now, then we want to retain you. Sometimes they're like, okay, we don't have a vacancy right now, or we don't have the resources to retain you, or we just don't want to retain you. But in my case, I wasn't retained.
The next question is, when it comes to extracurricular activities, how many of them or which of them have you been involved in? You know, coupling this with your master's, the expectations, how are you able to merge this with extracurricular activities, and also what kind of extracurricular activities have you been involved in or currently involved in?
This is something I'm really proud of. Like in my uni, in Wageningen University, I usually don't think I'm that kind of person that is usually in the open, but I involved myself in the students' body, kind of. Not really in the forefront, but I was part of the school's event coordination team, and I organized at least 3 events with this team, and it was such a great experience because it was completely outside my study, and I think why I did it was I wanted to do something different from my study. So which brings me to the fact that in the Netherlands, the education system here is like a roller coaster. It's the same thing every week, like intensive study, examination, a little break, and you're back to studies again. So I thought at that point, I was getting so bored with the cycle. I was like, in Nigeria, I wasn't in the student body at all, but it's not bad to try it out because also my university was international. So I was like, okay, it will also give me the opportunity to know more people. So I joined this team, and then we organized different student events. One of them was like every year we have like a Christmas event in the school. We also have like once a year we have One World Week. My school takes it really important because they are really focused on inclusion and diversity. Actually, I growing up, I was a dancer, and I really...
I've seen you dance before. Not giving us moves before.
Growing up, I was a dancer, so not like I really was in a crew or whatever, but I knew I could dance, and I'm also very passionate about my tribal dance. I'm from the Igbo tribe. I didn't form, but I joined a cultural dance crew. We went to dance for the embassy on different events.
Wow.
Yeah, the ambassador himself invited us. Like, it was such a good experience. We are still a team now, even though some of us are scattered all over now because some people have graduated. But then we were all students. We also got cash from it. So yeah, it was
you wouldn't add that part. You know, later on, I'll be able to. I have a question around balancing your studies and personal interests, because you already said that studies itself was a roller coaster, and then you added another roller coaster.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that one later. But I also kind of feel like currently you're doing something around events, coordination and organizing.
Yeah.
I feel like this came from those extracurricular and not from the masters.
Exactly. This is something I also find very interesting in the Netherlands. I don't think it was something that was prominent in Nigeria. Like in the Netherlands, you can literally put something you volunteered for in your CV and it counts.
Wow.
All this event coordination that I did for the university and also with the team, I think that was what kind of helped me to land my event specialist job that I am currently doing now. I think we're going to talk about it later. The whole job application process in the Netherlands, it is actually ghetto. So
don't worry, you'll be able to pour your heart later on.
But yeah.
Next question I have here, which is also a very important question I like asking people, is, you know, when they say what I ordered versus what I got. So the question is, what was your expectation when coming to do your master's here in Netherlands? And what was the reality like that made it different from what you expected?
Like, if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned how I got accepted back into the scholarship again. And then that was already like 1 month. I had like 1 month to plan, to prepare and leave. because the other people that also got the scholarship already got like their go ahead a month ago. So I already had lost a month. In the middle of COVID, the airports were closed. I was rushing. I didn't even have time to sit to think about what is this going to be like. I think the day that reality hit me for the first time was the first day of the study. Lectures officially began. I was still in Nigeria, so I had to join online, because even if you were already in the Netherlands, you have to join online because we're in the peak of COVID anyways. I'll tell you, it was not a pleasant experience. I was the only black person. I was not surprised. I was the only black person, and I think this was also like something that stuck out for me throughout my master's, which I also like to reflect on. That first day, I was like, what is it going to be like being like a minority, like the only black person in a class of all whites? And then secondly, I didn't understand anything that the lecturer was saying. She was saying a lot of things. I was trying to take notes.
Was it the accent or...
Not really the accent. I think I was really tense.
Not accent.
Not really the accent. I was really tensed and anxious that first day, and I was like, oh my god, I have never used Zoom. A lot of things were going on in my head, and at that moment, I think where I was doing the joining the class from, I was to go for my visa appointment the next day, so there was a lot of things happening around me. But then the second day got better, and the third day, something about the Netherlands, in case you're coming here, just get ready for group work. They kind of train you. The system is kind of trained. Is structured to train students in such a way that you work in groups, and at the end of the day, the group members assess each other. So that's like how they function here. By the third day, we were already shared into groups, and then already given assignments, like weekly assignments. At the end of the week, you have to produce one. I was like, oh my god, how am I going to function in this? But I managed finally. And then finally on my travel week, my group members were so understanding. They were like, oh, don't worry, we will cover for you. Of course, the lecturers also knew that I was going to be en route. Like, because it was like a full day flight journey. So by the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 7th week, it was smooth. So
But you also mentioned something about the first day you felt like you were a minority, but you said something previously where you said the school is international. So is it like when you came, you realized you were not the only black person, or...
Yeah, before I also traveled, I already met some Nigerians who were also coming. Like, we already formed like a WhatsApp group. Because we met each other at the embassy at some point. It made me feel at least a bit good that, okay, I have Nigerians or I have other Africans and other people like me who are gonna be studying here. I think also being the only black person in my class already made me to be aware of that position.
Okay, when you say you're the only black person, it was like in your class,
in my main class. In my class. So I was already conscious. There's the stereotypes. We always have stereotypes. We have stereotypes of black people being considered dumb and not smart. So I was already like, I was so tense. I was like, okay, I hope they don't think I'm dumb. I hope they don't think I'm not smart. I had to let myself go, like, just like be myself, because every other person was being themselves. Like, it shocked me, like the second week when a girl from America said, oh, I don't understand anything. I'm like, oh my god, I thought I was the only one that didn't understand anything. Do you understand? So like, it's
me and you both.
I also didn't blame myself, because these are things that
you didn't know
was playing in my head. So I didn't know any better.
You know, it's very interesting that you say that, because one of the things that at least even for me, one of the things we fail to consider before coming here is, you know, you come from a place where when you see a white person, it's rare. Then you come to a place where you are now the rare person. I think also coming here a few months in, and I was just like, you know, it began to really dawn on me what it feels like to be a minority
alone.
When you are involved, when they invite you to something, then they say they are inclusive, and that inclusive factor is you. You begin to feel like, wow, I'm the one making you people feel like you're inclusive.
I'm the one the team is based on.
So I think that's one thing to also think about. Of course, you may not really know what it feels like until you come here. But it's quite a thought to have, and it's glad that you have shared yours and also shared how you are able to just let go and just, you know, do what you can do. Now, you've talked about the school being international, and I feel like I already know the answer to this, but just to ask, what was the language barrier for you like?
Of course, everything was taught in English. I think where I had the most barrier was I experienced with some Dutch students, which I also don't blame them. Like, if you have a first language, I think it's easier for you to flow in it, right? When they do it personally, I have no problem, like, because that's your first language, you can talk. But then when we are working in a group, you have to converse in a language that everybody knows.
Yeah.
I felt so many times they forgot. Even in the WhatsApp group, sometimes they were also talking in Dutch. So I had to that was like my first month. I had to translate everything.
Yeah.
You know, that was like one of the barriers. But aside from that, everybody spoke English. The lectures was in English. Please, we have to cut. I have to call. Make a call. Most master's studies are being taught in English language, and anybody can literally do it.
I very much agree with that. There is a very little language barrier, especially when it comes to international environments.
Exactly.
So, who is jouw Netherlands nu?
Who lang?
You don't know?
No. So,
Who is your Netherlands nu?
how is my nether? Oh yeah. How is my Dutch now? Oh my God. Okay, that's one of the skills I acquired. Hallelujah.
Don't worry, we'll talk about skills. So you see, I know more Dutch than.
But yeah, who is my Netherlands now? Ik denk het is een klein beetje goed. Yeah, quite
See how long it's taking you.
Yeah, and I said I think it is a little bit good. A little bit good.
Let's keep going. So what kind of support did you get from the school? I know the scholarship came from OKP, not the school, right?
Yeah, so basically in our school, and I also think as a lot of Dutch universities, they have student support center, and also you have a course advisor in your program. In times when maybe you're going through maybe depression or anxiety or, you know, something really serious that has to do with your mental health or like anything really that bothers you, they are really there for you. And they also have therapists as well. And
it's free? Or?
Yeah, it is free. They have therapists and you can have as many sessions as you want. Like,
thinking I should go to masters just for that therapy.
For that therapy, because therapy costs.
I need therapy and it's cost.
Costs. No, it really is, it's costly here.
Yeah.
That was like one of the major support that the school provided. So because we moved here during the COVID year, it was really hard, but the school was able to link us like in the emails during when we were about to get our visa. They sent us the WhatsApp group link of the African Students Association.
Nice.
We joined the group and literally they were the ones that arranged the taxi that came to the airport to pick us up. On that day I landed for the first time. There was no way I was going to figure out how to use the train from Amsterdam to Wageningen.
Yeah.
That's like 2 hours plus, and then the bus.
Yeah.
Another support, I would say they supported financially some student organizations. So for example, the African Student Association I talked about, I was in UCAS, so it was the United Community of African Students. I also served as a board member for 1 year there in my second year, and they also provided financial support in when we want to do like African events that focuses on the social life of students.
Yeah. Moving on without further ado, and I think you've shared a bit of this, but generally, what is the master's program like? So not about your course now, but like masters in maybe universities generally or in your school. Do you go to classes every day? Do you have to submit reports, fill logbooks or stuff like that?
I will speak about my course. Up to today, when I tell people, they're like, huh? I studied tourism society and environment, and I only did examination one time. Yeah, I only took exams one time.
In that 2 years?
Yeah. And when people are struggling for examinations, I'm like, I can't really relate. I'm sorry, don't mind me, but I didn't take exams because our study was more or less based on writing academic papers. So those were what they were judging us from, and that was our grade at the end of the course. I only took a statistics exam. That is also a point to raise. If you're coming here, one of the major courses you're going to take is statistics. Why they make it mandatory is because in your thesis, in your projects, you of course analyze data. So they want to prepare you for it. Unless you can prove that you've done statistics in depth in Nigeria or in your country.
Yeah.
I only did statistics exam, but others, I wrote mostly assignments and papers and writing papers and essays.
Yeah.
I had 4 weeks course and 1 day off, 4 days a week lecture and 1 day off. In Nigeria, we call it semesters, but here we call it periods. So in a year, you have 6 periods. At the end of every period, you're expected to write an exam. In my case, I wasn't writing exams. Each period consists of 1 to 2 months. So that's how it's spread across the year. That was how it was paced for my course. Some periods, you have maybe lectures twice a week. But the good thing about here is that only 2 major courses per period.
I think it's pretty interesting to see how things can be different in the countries you come from and also over here with the school. But yeah, moving on, I think you've touched a bit on this when we talked about extracurricular activities. But the main question here is, what are the valuable skills you have acquired in your study, in your master's?
In my study process, I acquired
Perhaps you learned how to dance better. I don't know.
In my study process, I think I acquired some quite number of skills, which are really valuable. I think every skill is valuable because my school had this Dutch language courses that they were offering to students who were interested in learning. If you were to do these courses outside, a month costs like 450 euros the last time I checked. My school made the A1 level to be free, and then A2 level they subsidized it to 90 euros per course. I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna be after the school, my master's, but whatever it is, it's not a waste to know the knowledge, the language. So I did the A1 and the A2. I'm not gonna lie, when I finished the A2, I was like, I still don't know I thought I would be speaking it like ASAP.
Yeah.
But then now that I'm working, I have like majority Dutch colleagues in my office, and I can tell you for free that I think when I did the last course was last year, right? Last year. I think it's beginning to sink in now because now I can read.
Yeah.
I can understand. I cannot still speak to the extent I want to speak, but I can read, I can understand, I can hear now. Also, another valuable skill is I did a major course on intercultural communication. And even if I didn't do this course, I feel like I got it because like in my class, we were so diverse in cultures and nationality.
Yeah.
And also in my school. So studying in the Netherlands, it gives you the opportunity to be exposed to diverse cultures.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say if it's a skill, but more like a personal development. I learned to be more open. To not squeeze myself in. I think before I used to be very shy. Studying here, I learned that everybody's opinions matter. Like no matter how dumb it might seem or it might sound, your opinion has weight.
Yeah.
So I learned to be more open.
It's really nice. And I can very much relate to the culture one. For me, coming from Nigeria, there are a lot of things that I would have seen as the standard. Like this is the standard way to do X, Y, Z. And then coming here, it's when you even tell them what you do in Nigeria, they'll be like, really? People do that? And then for you, when you see what they do here, you're like, people do that.
Do this.
And now we're going back a bit to that extracurricular activities. How were you able to balance studies, roller coaster 1, with all those extracurricular activities, roller coaster 2, along with personal interests that you may have had outside all of these school connections, roller coaster 3?
It's really about balance. I say this because the extreme of either of this is not good.
Did you find the balance? That's the question.
I think I did.
Okay.
I think I did.
Because everybody used to say it's about finding balance, but did they have the balance themselves?
I think I did, but I'm not gonna sit here to say that I was the best person in meeting deadlines, for instance. I procrastinate a lot. I know this is something I struggle with, but I think what usually helps me was setting time, like study focus time. When I really want to put my A game, like maybe in my assignments, because a deadline is approaching, I just shut off all gadgets, right? And then go to the library. I think this works for me during my thesis time. But for the study time, of course, you're doing the lectures from Monday to Friday, and you're working according to the lecture schedule. I think what helped was in the weekends, it's what I set for my extracurricular activities. Once it is Friday, I lock my laptop and I'm not gonna open it till Monday. I visited friends, we cooked together, especially our cultural meals. We bonded, we slept at each other's houses like friends, Why are you laughing?
That disclaimer was funny.
Oh my God.
But go on.
Okay. And then during the weekdays, even if I want to engage in something that will take away my study time, I just tell myself, look forward to the weekend as a reward time, So it kept me on check.
It's nice that you're also able to show us what you do in those balance, because everybody would say it's all about balance, but what are you doing that make your own balance?
Unbalanced.
So someone asked me this question on one of my previous interviews.
Okay.
Like, how possible is it for a student to pay their own fees while studying? They were asking if there are loan options accessible. And I know you mentioned something about paying in installments, which is something that is good. But apart from things like this, are there other ways that maybe a student can work?
There are student jobs for sure. I also did like a student part-time job in the summer. I could do it in the summer because that was during the summer break. But then because in this country there are some things that it really depends on what the student job is. For example, some of them might have consequences afterwards. I don't want to go really in depth so that I don't confuse people. If you have the intention of staying here after studies, there are some kind of jobs that you shouldn't do as a student. Already the government set the students working limit hours to 16 hours per week. So if you work 16 hours per week during the summer, it is legal for you to work throughout the summers with no hour limits. I think if you do it like that, then cannot work during the non-summer, like during the other seasons. I'm not sure I'm not sure. I need to check again how that works.
What is the average pay like in a month for this kind of?
So these days, like, I mean, from last 2 years, they brought up like different freelancing apps and freelancing platforms where you're on your own, nobody's employing you, and you work on your own. You declare your tax as a student or as a worker, as a freelancer, and you can get shifts of like 15 euros per hour, 20 euros per hour. Usually, the Dutch really regard weekend jobs like highly because, I mean, you're taking out time from your rest.
Yeah.
So they call it 150% pay. So during the weekend, they pay like almost double. During the weekend, you can be getting a shift of 22, 25 per hour.
In a month, that's like how much?
It depends on the tempo that you work. Because if you're freelancing, maybe today you're like, I will work today. Tomorrow you're like, I will rest.
Yeah.
But if you do it like maybe, let me say 3 times a week on an average, times 4 or 5 weeks in a month, you're getting maybe an average of 20 euros per hour. Each of those shifts are like maybe 8 hours. At the end of the month, you might be able to get something reasonable.
They'll do the calculation by themselves.
Yeah, they'll calculate it by yourself. I'm not good in math, sorry.
I threw the question to you because I know how to calculate it.
I'm not good in math. That's literally what a lot of students are doing now, the freelancing platform. And I think it's really good because it is not stuck, like you're not employed by anyone. So is it an app? There you can see so many companies and so many people that are looking for people that will so you just apply for it. Aside from the freelancing jobs, which I think is easier, there are also the ones that are like semi full-time. So those ones you get it through agencies. The reason why I have a problem with those ones is that sometimes it has a repercussion if you eventually end up working here.
Yeah.
The thing about the Netherlands, there are so many criteria to everything. Like, and then sometimes if they check and they see that you did some certain things before, I always say anything you're doing, always ask questions. If you're in community groups, you cannot stay here in isolation, because that's where you can see and hear experiences and see,
But what about loan options?
Loan options. To be honest, I wouldn't advise anybody to loan here. The system and way of working, and also the Dutch, everything is interlinked, right? Some of those loans, if you take it out, it will be on your record for like 5 years. Which sometimes maybe you're applying for something, they will always ask, do you have debts? For me personally, of course everybody has their different listen. For me personally, I wouldn't want that on my name. If you understand what I mean. It's not like it's a bad thing. I mean, there are people that also have loans.
So there are loan options.
There are loan options, but it's not like it's a bad thing. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because if anything happens and you couldn't pay on time, it becomes a bad record on your name.
I think this is really a lot for that. So there are options. There are freelance options. There are job opportunities you can consider. But just as she advised, make sure you do your research to ensure you're not stepping onto something that would bite you later on. But I think all these options coupled with the installments, for people who want to go the self-funded route, I think these are things that you can consider. And if after all has been said, you still want to consider loans, you can also check out, I'll probably research some of them and leave them in the video description so you can go through some of them. But yes, there are loan options. So far, so good. We are coming to the end of this video, and the initial idea was that you were going to share a lot of your experience around transitioning from school to work.
Life. Yeah.
But I'm thinking if we want to do that, this video is just going to be even super longer.
Yeah.
So the idea we have now is to make another video where we go more into detail on that transitioning
Process,
but that transitioning process, how it has been, like especially with housing, you now having to pay for your rent. But we'll have a separate video for that, which I'm going to link below once the video is ready. Just to wrap up this video, could you just share a bit of how you got your job?
I think one of the most strategic things to do if you're job searching in the Netherlands is CV development. Like, you have to really structure your CV according to what the market is. I think now is the best time to also mention that if you studied here as a master's student, legally you're entitled to 1 extra year. We call it the orientation or job search year.
Yeah.
So you have a different visa for this year, literally 1 year. So it starts counting from the day you apply for it until the next year, the day that in the next year.
Yeah.
Ideally, you're expected to get a job under this 1 year. But if you don't, you're expected to leave the country, else you become illegal.
This whole funding for your rent and everything, does that fall on you, or is the school still responsible in a way?
No, like your scholarship ends your last month, your last study month.
Wow.
And it was in this orientation search year that I got a job. To get a job here after your orientation search year, the company that you're applying for has to be on the IND list of public recognized sponsors.
Yeah.
You can get a job anywhere, but then you just have to make sure that the job that you're searching for, that the company is on the list of sponsors and that the company is willing to sponsor your visa.
Well, I think you've mentioned great points around the CV and also checking the IND list, because you can get any job. I was looking for a job last year. I could get any job. There were different places willing to hire me. But the problem is I cannot live here without those visas. But for the whole transition and every other of your experience, we'll just do that in a separate video, which, like I said, I'll link below. So keep an eye and stay tuned. And but just to wrap up this video, do you have any? I know you have shared a lot of advice, tips for everybody, but any last words, last advices before we go and have lunch?
Do it now. Apply for the master's now. And I'm not saying it because of motivational speech. I'm saying it because, for example, the scholarship I studied under, a country can only be there for 5 years. So the year that I applied was the year they put Nigeria back on the list. So after 5 years, they're going to really remove Nigeria. I'm speaking to Nigerians now.
OKP?
Yeah. After 5 years, they're going to remove Nigeria from the list. And Nigeria can only come back into the list after 5 years.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Why have I never had this one?
So when I say do it now, I'm not saying it's because of one big motivational speech. I'm saying do it now because next year, if you're leaving it for next year, OKP, Nigeria might not be on the list anymore. So because they tried to make it fair for, there's so many countries that want to benefit from it. So they tried to make it fair. So they remove one country for 5 years and put another one there. After 5 years, they remove you and put another one that has not been there for. So it's like a shuffle. So
is there anywhere somebody can find the list of?
Every year they always publish the people that are currently on their benefiting. They're currently their beneficiaries every year. So for OKP, I don't know about other scholarships.
That advice is very last minute because I didn't know there was any advice left anymore. But I think that's a very good advice. If you're considering masters, considering the Netherlands, I think I also want to do more of this whole Netherlands experiences where I speak with different people and they can share their stories, not just academics, but generally. So hopefully such videos will also guide your decisions around Netherlands. But I think we've come to the end of this episode. I've learned a lot.
Have we come to the end?
We have come to the end. Yes. There's so much information in my head. When I have these episodes, I usually feel like I've had it all, but every new episode just shows me, what? Yeah. So I hope this is also the same case for you where you have gotten to learn a lot from this. Like I said, I'll share relevant links mentioned here in the description of this video so you can make your research. But thank you, Chinyere, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
For sharing all of this. I mean, we're still going to record another video, so you are not leaving yet.
Oh, hello.
But yeah, thanks for sharing all of this. I believe all of this you have shared would really help people, guide people who want to make this step or they're already making this step but didn't know certain things. And thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. You can find her Instagram handle or any other contact information in the video description, so you can reach out to her personally with your questions. Thanks for joining in this episode.
Thank you.
See you in the next episode, and also you can check out the video I'll be making with her about her whole transitioning journey. Time for lunch.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Jesus. Come on. Create video noisy. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Studies in the Netherlands. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I just stopped to check in on you.
Okay.
It's not really about me.
You choke.
Joke. Back from our commercial break. I'll probably remove that Nigeria comparison to avoid wahala.
Okay.
It's also very important to be
I'm going to start again.
okay.